With a family in need, farmers come together with an old-fashioned harvest bee.
To all the guys out there right now, you have no idea how much I appreciate this.
Dozens rally around a young farmer whose father passed away. And a farm family escapes a combine fire as they wrap up harvest. And highlights from the Gateway Farm Expo, it's time to grow.
To all the guys out there right now, you have no idea how much I appreciate this.
In a time of need, it's what rural Nebraskans do. Come together, 8 combines and about 50 people making quick work of harvest for a family in need. Grain carts rumble.
There's one lunch for you.
And sandwiches arrive with a big crew to feed.
Everybody's doing something to help out the Rowart family.
Rodney Rowart spent a lifetime farming until his health took a turn for the worse.
He's been sick for almost a year, getting really sick in the last month, and took him in the hospital, and he had a fungal infection in his intestines, but they also think there was something else going on, but they couldn't quite figure out what.
All the while, his son looking through the windshield at the work to be done.
Jason's really gone above and beyond trying to get all the planting and spraying and the farming done through this season.
5 years after losing his mom, Jason said goodbye to his dad.
65 years old. He was not that old.
Brian Quant wanted Jason to know he wasn't on his own, with 400 acres of corn left to pick.
And it's been a long harvest for Jason with his dad passing away, and just wanna help him out.
Word of a harvest bee spread quickly.
There's people showing up by the minute, it seems like, and pretty overwhelming, and just a good feeling to know that, Dad was really that well known.
Around 50, some from 20 miles away.
7 combines, probably around 16 to 18 grain carts, and a little over 20 semis.
Some battling breakdowns.
This ain't good. We just roll with the punches.
With red and green machines working the same ground.
This is what Central Nebraska is really about, is neighbors helping neighbors and not afraid to get their hands dirty and jump in and give their neighbor a helping hand.
Rod Rowart leaves behind his kids and grandkids and his second wife.
Rodney's wife, Kathy, she really stepped it up on the cattle and helping with the irrigating. And
what would have taken days wraps up in hours.
By 5 o'clock, it'll probably be beer time, so.
One less thing for Jason to worry about.
There's not too many young farmers around. He's a great guy. He would do this for anybody else.
His dad's last crop harvested.
This is overwhelming, and I appreciate it. To the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Rain and wind have been challenges, but harvest is quickly nearing the end. The USDA reports 86% of corn has been picked as of this past Monday. Last year at this time, 92% of corn had been harvested. For comparison, 68% of corn had been picked the week before. 95% of winter wheat has emerged, and rates mostly good to fair. Sorghum harvested is also wrapping up. 85% harvested, behind 96% last year and 93 average. A Webster County family counts their blessings after escaping a combine fire. NTV's Ife Sinachi Ibo Simba has our story.
This is what's left after a combine fire in Webster County. One farmer tells me he and his wife escaped with just seconds to spare.
It was almost like an out-of-body experience. I mean, I could hardly believe what I was seeing.
Thursday evening, Darren and Buffy Niemeyer were just minutes away from completely wrapping up harvest. And then they got a call that would save their lives.
My grain cart operator let us know that she thought she saw some smoke coming out of the back of the combine.
A peek out the window confirmed her suspicion.
It was a surreal moment.
Flames shooting out the back of the combine that they were driving.
From the time that our grain cart operator called us to the time that we got out, and I was actually on the phone with 911, and it was fully engulfed by that time, was probably only about 2 minutes.
Miraculously, no one was hurt.
We got out just in time.
The Nebraska State Fire Marshal's office says it got reports of 318 farm fires last year, and that's just data from 37% of the state's fire departments. The University of Nebraska says farmers should check equipment for buildup of crop residue, keep up with maintenance, and always have a fire extinguisher nearby.
Well, it can happen to anybody, anytime.
Thanks, Iffy. We're here this week at the Gateway Farm Expo. Farmers coming together, some looking for new technologies to help them manage their operations more efficiently. The company Current Defense says LED lighting can play a big part in lowering cost over time, having 3 times more light than natural incandescent lights, but using less energy. With the high property taxes farmers are paying, they say this is an easy way to cut back.
As you begin to look at how you're going to reduce your operating costs, the movement over to LEDs, because each year LEDs get to be more efficient. Each year we increase the amount of light and lower the power, and that's called lumens per watt, and that's a real accomplishment of what you get from the LED source.
And according to the Department of Energy, all light sources will be LED by the year 2030. The company says the idea behind it is also using less energy, giving farmers the opportunity to lower the lights when they're not in the building. And another major farm show looks to the future. This week, the Grand Island City Council voted to give up to $2 million in food and drink tax to Farm Progress for renovations to the Husker Harvest Days site. It will be paid in $200,000 a year increments for 10 years. In exchange, the show has agreed to continue at the site for the next 20 years. The show's manager says drainage and infrastructure improvements are needed to keep exhibitors and their dollars coming to the area. The total project will cost around $7 million. Last week we talked about how farmers are encouraged to keep the stubble during No Shave November. And that prompted our poll question, and it looks like most folks employ either strip till or no-till. Some disc those corn stalks, and some are somewhere else. As always, results are not scientific. Will the High Plains become the Great American Desert? Well, that's what one newspaper account says, but some local farmers disagree with that assessment. We talked and have more.
Protecting resources for the next generation.
And that's why I do it. That's why I care.
Jim Benfeld wants his grandkids to be able to follow his footsteps on the farm, and that includes the ability to irrigate. It's why Jim serves on his local Natural Resources District Board.
We're all managed by our neighbors.
But a new analysis suggests the aquifer that supplies water is running dry, with claims the region will become the Great American Desert. A Denver Post report shared through the Associated Press says it threatens the livelihood of farmers, and this farmer takes issue with those claims.
It leads to an economic scare for the viability of Nebraska, and I don't want that. We are well managed by the NRDs. We are well taken care of. The fact that we essentially have no declines, we manage it well to sustainability.
A government report paints a mixed picture. It shows a decline of 10 million acre feet over a 2-year period. But government scientists say reduced groundwater pumping has slowed the rate of decline. And while the aquifer has changed greatly under Texas, shows only a slight change in Nebraska.
They don't reference the right portion of the USGS study.
Research says there's an imbalance between water being used and rainfall recharging the aquifer. The change in water level varies greatly, from a rise of 84 feet in Nebraska to a decline of 234 feet in Texas.
Actually, in many areas of Nebraska has increased.
Benfeld says Nebraska's unique system of local control is the envy of other states, and improvements in crop and irrigation technology will result in water savings.
Going forward, we'll realize it.
The government report makes it clear there are challenges, but those who rely on water say they're making a difference.
Always move forward using less.
Now to our new poll question. Follow Grow on Twitter to cast your votes. A deadline to report livestock emissions comes and goes with another legal challenge. Back in 2008, the EPA made an exemption for animal feeding operations, but that's been challenged by environmental groups who say the EPA needs to hold livestock operations to that reporting standard. The courts agreed, and as of Wednesday, livestock operations were to report emissions, but it's once again up in the air as the EPA says no reporting is required while it continues to play out in court.
Celebrating 40 years of success calls for something big, maybe as big as a barn.
Well, we're so excited to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Certified Angus beef brand. We're actually going to take to the road and go cross-country with barn painter and artist Scott Hagan, who has painted over 600 barns across this great country, and paint the Certified Angus beef brand logo on barns. It'll be a beautiful sight. So if producers have a barn that they feel is a good candidate, we want to hear from you. We're going to have a variety of barns, ideally some that are in high traffic areas that are wooden is preferred just from an ease of painting standpoint, and certainly we want folks in the community to be able to see the logo and to be excited that the brand is going to be prominent in that community.
Up next, farming and ranching is more than an occupation, it's a way of life. So what happens when injury takes farmers from the land? We'll have more on that as we continue here at the Gateway Farm Expo.